Welcome back, everybody. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you so much for all the feedback, comments, and all the other interactions you've been sending my way. All the support concerning the tough times I'm having have been most welcome. And all your attention to this stuff that I'm showing off has also been greatly appreciated. It gives me something to do, take my mind off of things. Today we're going to be showing off the butchery. That's just the next line of stuff I'm going to do. It's one of the next buildings we built. It has changed since the first time I showed it off in the tour. You can quite clearly you can see that this used to be a single a odd number symmetry, and now there's this fat bit sticking off the side of it. I think I integrated it well. I've seen plenty of uneven chimneys on modern homes, and I know it was pretty common the further back in time you go, especially when people just building their own houses, out in the sticks by themselves, with sticks actually. So this is just the chimney for the building. I am just walking around showing the whole thing, so you can take a gander. I think I did these frames wrong. I don't think this would actually provide support. I might have did it right. Don't quite remember. But it doesn't even have to actually work in real life. It just has to look like it works in the game. And that's the process. That's the policy I have of the implication. If it implies that it does something, then in your brain it should it does it. That's storytelling. That's environmental storytelling. 3D modelers, game designers, it's the policy, it's procedure. Gray ceramic roof. I think this is like light gray or tan daub, and this is golden brown daub. I did the different textures dirtier towards the bottom with the brick support right there for the cellar. That's underneath here. And then the lighter color towards the top, because in my head, grime collects at the bottom, and it's cleaner to the top because even when it rains, all the grime that's up here will wash down, and you'll have this nice, I don't say nice, but you'll have a gradient of clean-ish, cleaner down to the most dirty down here where people's, kicking up dirt and it rains and it gets all muddy, or animals might be next to it and stuff like that. So that's my thought process behind that. I think I explained that to somebody on Reddit earlier as well who was asking about my gradients. But this is not a good example of it because this is when I first started. One of the first things I did when I started playing the game on this playthrough, which is we started playing this server when we first started playing the game. So this is one of the first buildings that I ever did. Is what I'm getting at. That was very confusing. But it's one of the first buildings I ever did, and so I wasn't quite sure of what the rules were or what was available, like what kind of stuff you could do and how to integrate it. And so you'll see that as we go along through this series of me showing off my base here, my homestead of sorts, you'll see that my style has changed and I've got a consistent palette and style and theme, which some of the aspects of it are starting to show here where there's just consistency. But things do change, and I feel like they've changed for the better. The outside of this hasn't changed really that much, except for this spot over here. It hasn't changed that much since the base tour video, except for right here. There are these bits that we've added. This is clutter that you can get and put in. I think this I actually cheated in and threw away some resources because I just wanted to have something hanging up. And then right here is the plumbing that I do for all the buildings that need to have water in it, and you'll see inside that this one does have plumbing. Here's a tool rack to hold a cleaver and a knife to look like this pig that my wife has chiseled is being further carved up or prepared in some way. Here's some sauces and spices. So here's a dry rub. You can just put that baby on there, lather her up, and toss her in the old fire here. And this is actually I call it a smoker. There's no actual smoking in this game, but this is, it looks like a smoker to me, some big industrial smoker, like a smoke house, but not quite a house, a smoke tiny home. And it has just 3 functional fire pits in it. There's a place right here that I've chiseled in to have firewood. There is a more efficient way to build this where you can have the fire, like more fire pits, but I like doing it this way because it looks like there's a lot going on. It looks like there's plenty of ventilation, for airflow and stuff for the smoking. And then it also looks like, I don't know, it looks like it works. It just looks industrial. It looks heavy. It looks manly. It looks like Ron Swanson be using this motherfucker. And I thought about just doing like like a charbroil gas grill type thing out here with a fire pit on it. But I changed my mind and we was going to do a smokehouse. And this did not turn out the way I had pictured it initially. But I'm pretty pleased with it. Functionally, it does let us cook all the red meat from and the chicken from our farm animals. Thanks George Orwell. From that we can just go over there and cut them up, bring them over here, and then just cook them for whatever doesn't get salted, and then go on about our day. Now I will do a little side about this. You'll have noticed that like all of my production, all of my crafting, all of the resources have their own little area. Everything's compartmentalized. So what that has done is, one second. For example, now all the, like, not all, but a lot of this regular cooking happens here. We don't make meals here, but like just cooking the red meat happens here. That no longer gets done in the house. So that's one less reason for us to go back to the house. And as we keep building and expanding, we spend less and less time at the house. It's gotten to the point now that we're running around between the different workstations so much, doing these various little mini games, that we don't have time. We have time, but we don't feel like running all the way back to the house to sleep through the night if we do sleep. So to fast forward the time, if we want to, we have a bed out here dotted like every workstation, a little sleeping quarter where we just take a nap, wake up the next day, and then get back to work. So we spend less and less time at the house we built. So it makes it more, like the process that we're doing out here is more efficient, kind of like doing Factorio or Satisfactory or something. Like you're automating stuff close, well, not automating, but you're making a system. You're system building. I'll say automation to shorten that. You're automating these systems over here to facilitate scaling production or to make things easier or faster. The problem with that is now the house that you built for your character to live in, you don't spend so much time in it. Now I could make myself go back to the kitchen, make myself a meal, sleep, and like role play it, but I don't do that when I play. I treat this like a mission. But if you're on a server with friends or something, you probably won't run into that problem. It's just something I wanted to bring up because if you do start to build like me, or possibly even think about approaching these problems the way that I approach them, you might find yourself having gone really ham, so hard in the paint on like your starter house. It's like, oh, I'm gonna make this house fucking pimp this time because everybody hates their start. Nobody wants a dirt hut. This game is valid for having a dirt hut, but you want a nice dirt hut. And so when you're sitting there busy pimping that out, and then you start making like, I'm gonna put a factory here and a winery here and all this other stuff, your heat map of where you interact gets spread out more and more. So just keep in mind that you're going to spend less and less time at this awesome thing you built. Now, if you're one of those people who like, I built it, it's awesome, it's done, and then move on, it's probably not an issue for you. I just wanted to bring it up because it is a concern of mine. I'm kind of pissed that I went so hard in the house and making the house not just look cool, but also functional, and then now I barely use the house in any kind of function at all. Technically, it's just a bed and a cellar for me because everything else gets done somewhere else. Well, except for meal making. We do make most of our meals in the kitchen in the house. But as soon as I build a soup kitchen out here in this motherfucker, that's going to change too. But I digress. Anyway, that's enough rambling. That's the outside. Just looks like there's a place where we smoke meats. You can see here, this is a functional surface that you can put stuff on. And then right here is a fake looking pizza oven, I guess. A little toaster oven, whatever you want to call it. And then some more firewood. I do love the clinker bricks. These motherfuckers slap. Big fan of them. I really felt like I haven't used them anywhere else, I don't think. But using them for the smoker just really, I don't know, it made sense to me. I don't know, maybe because of cultural assumptions. Like a lot of the bricks are around where I live just look like this. They're old bricks, like from the 1800s and stuff. I'm in southern Indiana. So this old construction and everything just has this look to it. So the clinkers are, I'm not a big fan of clankers, but I love a clinker. So we come in here, giggity, and this is the butchery, which has been redone heavily. As you can see, this used to be, that's what I'm talking about, the single stack fireplace. Basically expanded it, doubled it, and gave it to the next guy. Excuse me, had to take a drink. Rafters are simple, just chiseled down horizontal debarked logs, and then I did run a oak beam through the middle of it, which I think it just works. I think it works. Like, was it Todd Howard? Is that yeah? It just works. Talk about fucking Bethesda games. Yeah, I think that's who that is. Cabinets, which this is the easiest cabinet to do. Honestly, you can put something on the side if you want, or just between walls. You can have it run the whole length of a wall, really. But I just chisel a little something to put on the side. Put 2 crates of the same color, and then a trap door of the same color. And you can put labels on them, and then have the graded trapdoors, and then you can see what's in the cabinet without actually having to open the cabinet. And technically, you don't even need to open the cabinet. You can access it from underneath, unless you occupy a block and chisel something underneath there. Here's some blinds. My windowsill. I love chiseling that in. These are supposed to be like the wooden slats that go horizontally with the strings hanging down to support them. I feel like I need to go down one more voxel, but I don't have the QP chisel mod, so I can't. And I wish that would be added to vanilla, but it is not. Dish towel and all that stuff like that from the winery, just to make it feel like there's more going on. Some plumbing. I really should have chiseled the rest of this to make it look like it was a barrel that this plumbing is just pouring out into, but I'm lazy. So just imagine that looks like a barrel all the way. This right here is actually not a byproduct, a leftover from a hot spring that was right next to that set of hot springs that we just built over, and I kept this one block of hot water to test, and it turns out that does keep, at least right here, warm enough that I can stay in here and do stuff and not suffer any consequences during the winter. Plus, this is also a room, technically. Over here, we got hanging meat, rotisserie. There's 2 of them actually stacked in. With a fireplace and some charred looking, I think this is aged slate, ashlar brick or block or something, chiseled into the light mud brick to make it look like there's soot and stuff. This is a cheated in coat rack, and I happen to have chiseled this with, I think this is conglomerate. I think this is just conglomerate rock that I have chiseled into looking like a drying rack or something for meat. Maybe these are whole rabbit carcasses. Maybe they're chunks of legs from animals. Maybe these are strips or like tendons or something. Down here is a cleaver on a cutting board to chop up some chunks. And right here is another pot which has, I don't know, some meat stew or broth, or maybe we're making some barbecue sauce to slather up on that puppy out there. Slather it up. But whatever you want to think is happening in here is happening. The implication. The white on here there's 2 ways to do it. One's expensive, one is time consuming. Well, both are time consuming, but one is more expensive. The borax has a slightly different look to it, but you can get away with using quartz. So just find chert that has quartz in it, and then quarry around it, and then use that to chisel, and you can get little white bits to look like they're really fat, or perhaps, like right here, maybe this is a bone that has meat strands on it still. As you can see, I have a carcass carved here with some actual bone. I think this is still conglomerate stone coming out of it. And then a stack of bones, the stone clutter skeleton, some chiseled cow tools, and then more hanging meat. Maybe this meat's salted. Maybe it's just more fatty. Maybe this darker meat, this darker chert. I think this is aged chert. Aged polished chert, maybe. And that maybe is like a liver or something, and that's just hanging up there drying or salting. Here's some more hanging up, same logic behind it. More cabinetry, but this one just has shelves, though nothing really needs to be stored in there. It's just there if I need to put something. Shelf for, yeah, that's a shelf. I don't know what you'd call that. It's like a hanging shelf with a crate over top of it. And then we're back to the cabinets. I put a little cow skull because, it's butchery. And then butcher tools. Maybe some salt and pepper. This goes downstairs. You can see I've chiseled this little archway here to provide a surface for that, and also to cover this up. So the purpose is twofold. You come down this stairwell, a little place to sit and wait. But you can come in here, and it's a functional cellar that looks very similar to the cellar underneath the house. I try to keep that pretty consistent. Crates for storing salt. I try to color code my crates, so like the pink crate has salt because the halite salt is the Himalayan salt or whatever that we're using. And then there's also a crate for buckets. And then I have the barrels here that don't have any salt in them yet. Chisel this table, have a storage vessel underneath. Though realistically, you could probably just use a chest or even just the barrels themselves or a trunk, what have you, because meat is the other when it comes to storing things like food. So there's vegetables and grains, or like fruits and vegetables and grains or something like that. And then other. Other is meat. Meat does not care if it's in giggity a storage vessel or a chest or a trunk or even in a barrel. I don't believe it is functionally the same. So, like for instance, if grains are getting 0.27 spoilage rate, and then the others are getting 0.39, that 0.39 will happen for the meat whether it's in the vessel or the chest. So honestly, you could just get, I think you could just get crates and stack them up and then pile in your salted meat, and that would be the best way to store it. Now, I might be wrong about the crate. Maybe the crate does have a higher spoilage rate that I'm not aware of, but I don't think it does. But on the safe side, for sure, I know you could just stack up a room full of trunks and stuff stuff your meat in there, and it'll be the same as having storage vessels full of the shit. So, just something to consider when you're, trying to do stuff like this yourself. But it's just a cellar. Just a cellar. There's some salt actually stacked on the table. More meat that in my head now, because we're down here, this is the stuff that I have salted and have now hung up here to dry, even though the salting is actually going to take place in this barrel. But then there's some meat that has not been salted, and then there's some meat sitting on the table that has been salted. And I guess technically I could expand this if I needed to, but I really don't think that with how many animals we currently have and maintain and everything, I do not think that we would ever need more than this many barrels of red meat to be salted at a time. But that is the extent of the inside and the outside of the butchery. I tried to make this video a little bit quicker, but I probably didn't. We're still probably sitting around 15, 16 minutes, I bet. My internal clock has not been the best here recently, though. But here's a little flyby of the outside. I do have other stuff I'm going to show. I will probably show the brinery next, because initially the butchery was two buildings, is where we salted the meat and pickled the vegetables. But now, since I've done the remodel, it has been split into two buildings. So there is the butchery, where we do the meat, and what I call a brinery, where we use brine to pickle our vegetables. So since I'm showing this because the original building has been changed, the next video I do will be the other half of that change. So the next video will be covering where we pickle our goods. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Any feedback, any and all feedback is most welcome. I know you guys love suggesting mods like you're fucking salesman or something. No hate, but I'm probably not going to use mods. I'm a patient man. I'll wait for whatever it is to be added into the game if it's going to be. I just don't like dealing with all the hiccups that come with modding a game. I am perfectly fine doing things the way that I've been doing them. But if you have cool mods you want to share, please still do share them in the comments, because other people might want to know about them. But I guess that's all I have to say today. Again, thank you guys so much for paying attention to me yap. I am quite fluent in Japanese. And I will see you guys on the flip side.